Welcome back to the 3 o'clock sermon time. I do a study instead of a sermon is necessary, but this is actually in a way it is too. But one of the things to be thinking about for those that want to meet with us for the Feast of Tabernacles, we will be in Oklahoma at the state park of Lake Murray State Park, group camp number 1 from October 20th through the 27th. You're all invited. Jamie Ranch just announced that they will be doing, during this time, they'll be doing a painting class. We're talking about real canvas type class. So if you're interested in taking part, please call the 800 number. It's listed on all the DVDs. It's listed on the website. Call the 800 number and let them know so that they can get a head count so they'll have enough supplies to do what they're going to do. Let's see. I'm trying to think of anything else that would be along that line. I'll make another announcement at the end. But mainly here, we're in Deuteronomy. But before we go into chapter 10, I guess you could say, an introduction. One of the things I get out of doing these studies, word for word, is an understanding of the verse that I missed before when I read it. Because a lot of times I've sat through sermons after sermon, and basically the person speaking reads it, but sometimes your mind don't quite grasp exactly what it is saying in a word when you do it in a word-to-word study. Yahweh, I guess question. Anybody know who was the first prophet in the Bible? First prophet. Okay, Tony, I'll give you a chance.
It was Yahweh.
Oh, I'm not. I'm sorry. Anybody other than Yahweh?
The seed of the woman shall crush the serpent's head. That was a prophecy.
Okay, but human-wise, who was the first prophet? I didn't really realize this until I was working on this. Abraham was called the first prophet in Genesis 20, verse 7. And then Aaron is called a prophet in Exodus 7:1. But you also know something else? Moses was also a prophet. Okay? So turn with me to Deuteronomy 18:15 first. We're going to fill that in. We'll get to it, I know, another time later on. But chapter 18, verse 15. Yahweh your Elohim will raise up to you a prophet from among you of your brothers like me. You shall listen to him. This is Moses talking. This is according to all that you desired of Yahweh your Elohim in Horeb in the day of the assembly, saying, let me not hear again my Elohim's voice, neither let me see his great fire anymore, that I not die. I'm sorry. I got to take something out of my mouth. Now you might be able to understand me a little better. Verse 17, Yahweh said to me, they have well said that which they have spoken. I will raise up to them a prophet from among their brothers like you. I will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak to them all that I shall command him. Do you realize that those that actually stand up here in this pulpit are prophets? Because they're reading what Yahweh has written, the words of Yahweh. And would you realize that nearly all of the words of Yahweh are prophetic in understanding? Okay? In verse 19, it shall happen that whoever will not listen to my words which he shall speak in my name, I will require of him, meaning the individual that didn't listen. But the prophet who speaks a word presumptuously, and there are plenty of them today, in my name, which I have not commanded them to speak, or who speaks in the name of other Elohim or gods, that same prophet shall die. You may say in your heart, how shall we know the word which Yahweh has not spoken? When a prophet speaks in Yahweh's name, if the thing doesn't follow nor happen, that is the thing which Yahweh has not spoken. So when you have somebody get up and prophesy, this event's going to happen, it's going to begin on this date, this date, this date, because I've sit there through I don't know how many of those type sermons, and it doesn't happen, you should never listen to that person again. You should never accept anything he has to say, because he's not speaking for Yahweh. The prophet has spoken presumptuously. You shall not be afraid of him. Okay? Now turn with Deuteronomy 34:10. Deuteronomy 34:10. Since then, there has not arisen a prophet in Israel like Moses, whom Yahweh knew face to face, in all the signs and in the wonders which Yahweh sent him to do in the land of Egypt, to Pharaoh and to all the servants and to all his servants and to all the land, his land, and in all the mighty hand, in all the awesome deeds which Moses did in the sight of all of Israel. Jeremiah 23 verse 9. Jeremiah 23 verse 9. Concerning the prophets, my heart within me is broken. All my bones shake. I am like a drunken man, and like a man whom wine has overcome, because of Yahweh and because of his holy words. For the land is full of adulterers, for because of the curse the land mourns. The pastures of the wilderness have dried up. Their course is evil, and their might is not right. For both prophet and priest are profane. Yes, in my house I have found their wickedness, says Yahweh. Therefore, their way will be to them as slippery places in the darkness. They will be driven on and fall therein, for I will bring evil on them, even the year of my visitation, says Yahweh. Verse 13, I have seen folly in the prophets of Samaria. They prophesy by Baal and cause my people Israel to err. In the prophets of Jerusalem I have also seen horrible things. Wait a minute, he's equating the prophets in Jerusalem with the prophets of Baal. They commit adultery and walk in lies. They strengthen the hands of evildoers, so that no one returns from his wickedness. They have all become to me as Sodom, and its inhabitants as Gomorrah. Therefore, Yahweh of armies says concerning the prophets, behold, I will feed them with wormwood, and make them drink the water of gall. For from the prophets of Jerusalem, unrighteousness has gone out into all the land. Well, that's what really happened. So see, once the prophets, once the leaders start prophesying not the word of Yahweh, but their own prophecy, you come into this. Jeremiah 23:16, Yahweh of armies says, don't listen to the words of the prophets who prophesy to you. They teach you vanity. They speak a vision of their own heart and not out of the mouth of Yahweh. They say continually to those who despise me, Yahweh has said, you will have peace. Yeah? You will be cured. You will have immunity. And to everyone who walks in the stubbornness of their own heart, they say, no evil will come on you. For who has stood in the counsel of Yahweh that he should perceive and hear his word? Who has listened to my word and heard it? Behold, Yahweh's storm, his wrath has gone out. Yes, a whirling storm. It will burst on the head of the wicked. Yahweh's anger will not return until he has executed and until he has performed the intents of his heart. In the latter days you will understand it perfectly. Verse 21, I didn't send these prophets, yet they ran. I didn't speak to them, yet they prophesied. Verse 22, but if they stood in my counsel, then they would have caused my people to hear my words and would have turned them from their evil way and from the evil of their doings. Am I a Elohim at hand, says Yahweh, and not a Elohim afar off? Can anyone hide himself in secret places so that I can't see him, says Yahweh? Don't I feel heaven and earth, says Yahweh? I have heard what the prophets have said, who prophesy lies in my name, saying, I had a dream. I had a dream. How long will this be in the heart of the prophets who prophesy lies, even the prophets of the deceit of their own heart? They intend to cause my people to forget my name by their dreams, which they teach. Each teach his neighbor as their fathers forgot my name because of Baal. Nothing new. Still things going. Jeremiah 23:28. The prophet who has a dream, let him tell a dream. And he who has my word, let him speak my word faithfully. What is the straw to the wheat, says Yahweh? Isn't my word like fire, says Yahweh, and like a hammer that breaks a rock in pieces? Therefore, behold, I am against the prophets, says Yahweh, who each steal my words from his neighbor. Behold, I am against prophets, says Yahweh, who use their tongues to say, and he says, behold, I am against those who prophesy lying dreams, says Yahweh, who tell them and cause my people to err by their lies and by their vain boasting. Yet I didn't send them or command them. They don't profit this people at all. The people don't get anything from them. When this people or the prophet or a priest asks you, saying, what is the message from Yahweh? Then you shall tell them, what message? I will cast you off, says Yahweh. As for the prophet, the priest, and the people who say, the message from Yahweh, I will even punish that man and his household. You will say, everyone to his neighbor and everyone to his brother, what has Yahweh answered, and what has Yahweh said? You will mention the message from Yahweh no more. For every man's own word has become his message, for you have perverted the words of the living Elohim, of Yahweh of armies, our Elohim. You will say to the prophet, what has Yahweh answered you, and what has Yahweh spoken? Although you say the message from Yahweh, therefore Yahweh says, because you say his word, this word, the message from Yahweh, and I have sent you, telling you not to say the message from Yahweh. Therefore, behold, I will utterly forget you, and I will cast you off, and the city that I gave you and to your fathers away from my presence. I will bring an everlasting reproach on you, and a perpetual shame which will not be forgotten. Acts 3:22. For Moses truly said unto the fathers, a prophet shall Yahweh your Elohim raise up unto you of your brethren, like unto me. This is in the New Testament saying that Moses was a prophet. Him shall you hear in all things whatsoever he shall say unto you. And it shall come to pass that every soul which will not hear the prophet shall be destroyed from among the people. Yea, and all the prophets from Samuel and those that followed after, as many as have spoken, have likewise foretold of these days. You are the children of the prophets and of the covenant which Yahweh made with our fathers, saying unto Abraham, and in thy seed shall all the kindreds of the earth be blessed. Unto you first the Father, having raised up his Son, Joshua, sent him to bless you, in turning away every one of you from his iniquities. I have one more in the New Testament, and that's Acts chapter 7, verse 35. This Moses, whom they refused, saying, who made you a ruler and a judge? As Johann pointed out with the people. They rose up against him. And the same did the Father send to be a ruler and a deliverer by the hand of the angel which appeared to him in the bush. He brought them out. After that he had showed wonders and signs in the land of Egypt and in the Red Sea and in the wilderness 40 years. This is that Moses which said unto the children of Israel, a prophet shall Yahweh your Elohim raise up unto you of your brethren, like unto me. Him shall you hear. This is he that had, talking about Yeshua, that was in the church. This is he, Yeshua, that was in the church or in the tabernacle in the wilderness with the angel which spoke to him in Mount Sinai, and with our fathers who received the lively oracles to give us. This is again stating that Yeshua existed at Mount Sinai. In verse 39, to whom our fathers would not obey, but thrust him from them, and in their hearts turned back again to Egypt, saying unto Aaron, make us Elohim or gods to go before us, for as this Moses, which brought us out of the land of Egypt, we wot not what is become of him. And they made a calf in those days, and offered sacrifices unto the idol, and rejoiced in the works of their hands. Then the Father turned and gave them up to worship the host of heaven, as is written in the book of the prophets. O you house of Israel, have you offered to me slain beasts and sacrifices for 40 years in the wilderness? Yes, you took up the tabernacle of Moloch and the star of your god Remphan. figures which you made to worship them, and I will carry you away beyond Babylon. Our fathers had the tabernacle of witness in the wilderness, as he had appointed, speaking unto Moses, that he should make it according to the fashion that he had seen. Mainly my point here in this first part is just pointing out that Moses was considered a prophet. So basically everything that you're reading in Deuteronomy is a prophecy. Literally think about it. It is a prophecy. If you do this, this will happen. If you do this, this will happen. If you don't do it, this will happen. And so that's what we're going through, and that's what you need to look at. And it gets more so as we get into the latter part of Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy 10, verse 1. We actually get to where we're supposed to be today. Deuteronomy 10:1. At that time Yahweh said to me, cut 2 stone tablets like the first and come up to me onto the mountain and make an ark of wood. This is him recounting what events happened after he came down from the mountain, broke the first 2 tablets when he saw them bowing down to this golden idol. Verse 2, I will write on the tablets the words that were on the first tablets which you broke, and you shall put them in the ark. So I made an ark of acacia wood and cut 2 stone tablets like the first, and went up onto the mountain having the 2 tablets in my hand. So he's making the second trip up there. He wrote on the tablets, according to the first writing, the 10 commandments which Yahweh spoke to you on the mountain out of the middle of the fire in the day of assembly, and Yahweh gave them to me. For everybody out there, even if you don't believe in God, you don't believe anything else, the 10 commandments still is the best thing that was ever written. Because if you follow them, and really, you have a better society than you do if you just decide every man can do whatever he wants to do. It protects you too. You want rights. You know, people talk about rights. It actually gives you rights. And the rights that somebody's not going to steal from you. Somebody's not going to murder you. Somebody's not going to take your wife, take your servants, whatever. That's what's embedded in it. And yet people can't seem to see that as being something positive. Verse 5 of Deuteronomy 10, I turned and came down from the mountain and put the tablets in the ark which I had made, and there they are as Yahweh commanded me. The children of Israel traveled from Beerot Bene Yahakan to Masarah. There Aaron died, and there he was buried, and Eleazar his son ministered in the priest office in his place. From there they traveled to Gudgodah, and from Gudgodah to Jotbatah, a land of brooks of water. At that time Yahweh set apart the tribe of Levi to bear the ark of Yahweh's covenant, to stand before Yahweh, to minister to him, and to bless in his name. That's when he established the priesthood, the Levitical priesthood. Therefore Levi, verse 9, has no portion nor inheritance with his brothers. Yahweh is his inheritance, according as Yahweh your Elohim spoke to him. I stayed on the mountain, as at the first time, 40 days and 40 nights. And Yahweh listened to me that time also. Yahweh would not destroy you. It was not on just him sitting there while that was being written. It was an ongoing discussion that Moses had with Yahweh. Think about it. How fantastic that would be. To be able to, well, what did you mean by this? So many people think this is what it means. And let him explain to you what he meant by it, and to get it straight. Moses had that advantage. I mean, he had the best advantage of anybody that's ever existed. Let's see. Verse 11 of Deuteronomy 10, Yahweh said to me, arise, take your journey before the people, and they shall go in and possess the land which I swore to your fathers to give them. This is all being recalled by Moses while they're still over on the other side of the Jordan, because when Moses finishes this, he's going to die. He knows he's going to die. He's not going to be allowed to go into the land. So, he's trying to be like as you can say, a good parent. He's trying to make sure that the generation that has come along since Mount Sinai and since the 40 years of wilderness, that they have an understanding of how imperative it is to listen to what Yahweh is saying, because he's saying, I'm telling you now, if you do these, things will be good for you. If you don't do what Yahweh said, things are going to be extremely bad for you. Okay? He talks to them about their heart. Verse 12. Now Israel, what does Yahweh your Elohim require of you? But to fear Yahweh your Elohim, to walk in all of his ways, and to love him, and to serve Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart and with all your soul. I mean, every bit of your being. Verse 13, to keep Yahweh's commandments and statutes, which I command you today for your good. Because these are not bad. They're good. Otherwise, even the atheist wouldn't have laws. Because some of them even come along and apply for some of these same rules. They don't like for you to go in and rob the local bank, and they don't like for you to shoot up the place, and they don't like for you to kill people. That's in basically every civilization, every place in the world. Okay? So he's telling this is going to be good for you. Verse 14 of Deuteronomy 10. Behold, to Yahweh your Elohim belongs heaven and the heaven of heavens, the earth, and all that is therein. You don't know nothing. You never will own anything. You're allowed to exist here, and if you follow Yahweh's laws, he will bless you and make it very profitable for you. Verse 15, only Yahweh had a delight in your fathers to love them, and he chose their offspring after them, even you above all peoples that it has today. He doesn't love them. He loves their fathers. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. That's who he loved. And as a love that he had for them, what they did for him, or followed Yahweh, was why he had looked down upon and took care of their following generations. They didn't even get any of this. They didn't get to see this even. It's like me. I've got a great grandson, just turned 2 this past Thursday, I think it is. The thing about it is, I wonder about what life is going to be for him. I know that with my grandkids, some of the things that they're having to deal with now is something that I never had to deal with. And with these mandates on COVID, they've got to sit down and make some decisions. I don't know how they're going to go. I hope they do the right thing. And so, it was something that I wasn't involved in. I'm so happy I'm retired, because I guess I would have had to quit. But that's the thing. You rely on Yahweh. If you believe that, you can go through anything. It goes on here, it says, verse 16 of Deuteronomy 10, circumcise therefore the foreskin of your heart. If you do the foreskin in normal, for the male anatomy, it's only the man that's affected. But when you circumcise the foreskin of your heart, that applies male and female. And being no more stiff-necked. Verse 17, for Yahweh your Elohim, he is an Elohim of Elohim, and Lord or Master of Masters, the great El, the mighty and the awesome, who doesn't respect persons nor takes reward. He doesn't put somebody on a higher level than somebody else, except those that follow him. And he does not take bribes. I mean, you can beg and you can offer, and there's a lot of these people saying, well, if you'll help me win the lottery, I'll give you half of it. Whoopee, you just made the biggest mistake in your life, because he doesn't need the money. And verse 18, he does execute justice for the fatherless and the widow, and he loves the foreigner in giving him food and clothing. A foreigner inside of Israel was treated as though he was an Israelite. But he also had to follow the same rules and regulations as the Israelite. So he also kept the Sabbath. He also kept the feast days, because everybody did. Sometimes I get off when I get in here.
19.
Okay, yeah, 19. Chapter 10, verse 19. Therefore love the foreigner, for you were foreigners in the land of Egypt. You shall fear Yahweh your Elohim. You shall serve him, and you shall cling to him, and you shall swear by his name. He is your praise. He is your Elohim, who has done for you these great and awesome things which your eyes have seen. Your fathers went down into Egypt with 70 persons, and now Yahweh your Elohim has made you as the stars of the sky for multitude. The best estimate was 660,000 men of war. Then you add to that the kids, then you add to that the wives, and then you add to that those that came along with them. So it's over 1 million people, most likely, that came out of there. Chapter 11, verse 1. You know, it's also, what does Yahweh ask of you? Therefore you shall love Yahweh your Elohim and keep his instructions, his statutes, his ordinances, and his commandments always, not when you feel like it, when it's easy to do, and remember it in the days of difficulty. Verse 2 of chapter 11. Know this day, for I don't speak with your children who have not known, and who have not seen the chastisement of Yahweh your Elohim, his greatness, his mighty hand, his outstretched arm, his signs, and his works, which he did in the middle of Egypt to Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and to all his land. And what he did to the army of Egypt, to their horses, and to their chariots, how he made the water of the Red Sea to overflow them as they pursued you, and how Yahweh has destroyed them to this day. And what he did to you in the wilderness, until you came to this place. And what he did to Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, the son of Reuben, how the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up with their households, their tents, and every living thing that followed them in the middle of all Israel. I mean, the rest of the family paid the price for what their fathers did. He said, verse 7, but your eyes have seen all of Yahweh's great work which he did. Therefore you shall keep all the commandment which I command you today, that you may be strong and go in and possess the land where you go over to possess it. Verse 9, and that you may prolong your days in the land. That was the other part of this. As long as you do this, the longer you will live on the land. Israel was taken away from that land. The last time I think was in 587 BC. Literally, the majority of everybody there was moved outside of the land into what we now call Iran. So, you know, it's interesting here. All this warning, and yet in the future, they disregard all of the warnings. You know, it's like a parent having kids. That when they become adults, they disregard all of the warnings that their parents gave them. All of the instruction that they gave them. Because, you know, well, they're smarter than we are. We were smarter than our parents. Our parents are smarter than their parents. But in the long run, it comes down to what did Yahweh say and whether or not you follow it. And it's heartbreaking when you watch them make mistakes. I know my parents were probably heartbroken when I was making mistakes. And evidently I learned from a few of them. I still probably have a few more to deal with. But you know, it's just the way that the world goes. Verse 7 of chapter 11. But your eyes have seen all of Yahweh's great work which he did. Therefore you shall keep all the commandment which I command you today, that you may be strong and go in and possess the land where you go over to possess it, and that you may prolong your days in the land which Yahweh swore to the fathers to give to them and to their offspring, and a land flowing with milk and honey. For the land where you go in to possess isn't like the land of Egypt that you came out of, where you sow your seed and watered it with your foot as garden of herbs. But the land where you go in over to possess it is a land of hills and valleys, which drinks water from the rain of the sky. Well, there's another aspect of this rain of the sky. Have you ever noticed if you get up really early in the morning, I'm talking about just after sunrise, or not sunrise, just at dawn, go barefooted, or you can wear shoes and go out into your lawn and see how much water, dew there is on that lawn? That's Yahweh taking care of his creation. There are places in Israel that they grow watermelons on this mountain because it is a constant, every morning. It just drips off the plants. There's so much dew out of there. And I'll tell you something else about it. If you have a heavy dew on your yard, it ain't going to rain that day, because that's the rain. That's the moisture that would have made the clouds and would have made the rain. Yahweh took it out of the atmosphere and dropped it on his plants to water them. Deuteronomy 11:12. A land which Yahweh your Elohim cares for, Yahweh your Elohim eyes are always on it, from the beginning of the year even to the end of the year. It shall happen, if you shall listen diligently to my commandments which I command you today, to love Yahweh your Elohim and to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul, that I will give the rain of your land in its season. That's when you actually get the rain showers. The former rain and the latter rain, that you may gather in your grain, your new wine, and your oil. Normally, if you watch, it's one of the things about doing farming. If you watch the cycles, the wheat, after it's planted in the fall, you get rain. You get various rains through the fall, through the early part of the spring. As we get around to the time of the harvest, the rain stops. Because if it doesn't, that wheat or barley is going to mildew in the field, or it's going to be beaten down by the rain. It stops. The air gets dry. The plants dry out. The grain dries out. And then you reach that point where you can harvest it. And then after you harvest it, usually there's rain. That's just the way the cycles run. And because there's still other plants out there that Yahweh needs to water. Verse 15 of chapter 11, I will give grass in your fields to your livestock, and you shall eat and be full. Be careful lest your heart be deceived, and you turn away and serve other Elohim and worship them. And Yahweh's anger be kindled against you, and he shut up the sky so there is no rain. Even here it could have possibly applied to there is no dew either. And the land doesn't yield its fruit, and you perish quickly from off the good land which Yahweh gives you. Therefore you shall lay up these my words in your heart and in your soul. You shall bind them for a sign on your hand, and they shall be for frontlets between your eyes. Well, we have a Bible in our hands. That is a sign that's in your hands. The frontlets is this brain up here, and what it can do by the fact of constantly reading. There's a lot of other things you can do, but reading, I find to be much better than anything else when it comes to trying to understand something. Let's see. Verse 19 of chapter 11. You shall teach them to your children, talking of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up, explaining the principles of why this is this, and why you should do this, and how much better it is for your life, how much better you are around people. And what a shining example of what Yahweh's law is. Verse 20, You shall write them on the doorpost of your house and on your gates. Well, that Bible is an equivalency of doing just that. It's just having it. There are those, they write it a certain chapter, roll up a piece, put it in a little metal thing on the doorpost of their house. The mezuzah is what they call it. And that's the last time they see it. Every time they walk through the house or walk by it, they kiss their hand and touch the mezuzah. What does that do? If you're not reading it and paying attention to it, it ain't doing a whole lot of anything. Yes?
It sounds like an idol.
Well, it is an idol. Because they take in a common thing that says, write it on the doorpost. Well, why didn't they just write it on that doorpost? That way when they look at it, they can see what it says, instead of hiding it away in this little metal or ceramic or whatever mezuzah. Verse 21 of chapter 11, that your days may be multiplied in the days of your children in the land which Yahweh swore to their fathers to give them in the days of the heavens above the earth. For if you shall diligently keep all these commandments which I command me, to do them, to love Yahweh your Elohim, to walk in all his ways, and to cling to him, then Yahweh will drive out all these nations from before you, and shall dispossess nations greater and mightier than yourselves. Every place on which the sole of your foot treads shall be yours, from the wilderness and Lebanon, from the river, the river Euphrates, even to the western sea, shall be your border. The area that Abraham was told by Yahweh they came close, I think, during the time of Solomon, but otherwise they never really captured all the land. Verse 25, no man will be able to stand before you, Yahweh your Elohim will lay the fear of you and the dread of you on all the land that you tread on, as he has spoken to you. Remember what when the spies went into the land, when they crossed the Jordan and went into the land, I can't think of her name. Rahab. Very things she's talking about, how afraid they were of what they had heard about what had happened on the other side of the Jordan River. Verse 25, no man will be able to stand before you, Yahweh Elohim will lay the fear of you and the dread of you on all the land that you tread on, as he has spoken to you. Behold, I set before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing, if you listen to the commandments of Yahweh your Elohim, which I command you today. And the curse, if you do not listen to the commandments of Yahweh your Elohim, but turn away from out of the way which I command you today, to go after other Elohim which you have not known. These Elohims is basically anything other than Yahweh that you put more stake and more time into than Yahweh. I mean, it can be anything. You're wanting this house that has 4,000 square feet in it, that has a jacuzzi, has an indoor swimming pool, has all these type things. Yeah, you can dream about it, and maybe one day Yahweh will provide you the money that you can do it. But if you put that ahead of Yahweh, if you put a car before Yahweh, it's any number of things. Your cell phone, your time on the cell phone. Okay, I'm just giving examples. You can probably think of a lot more. Verse 29: it shall happen when Yahweh your Elohim brings you out of into the land where you go to possess it, that you shall set the blessing on Mount Gerizim and the curse on Mount Ebal. That's what happened when they got into the land. One group was on Mount Gerizim, and the other was on Mount Ebal, and they would yell across the valley at each other what he is outlining. Verse 30, aren't they beyond the Jordan and behind the way of the going down of the sun, in the land of the Canaanites who dwell in Arabah near Gilgal, beside the oaks of Moreh? For you are to pass over the Jordan to go in to possess the land which Yahweh your Elohim gives you, and you shall possess it and dwell therein. You shall observe to do all the statutes and the ordinance which I set before you today. You know, throughout this, we're only 2 chapters in today, and how many times about observing statutes, ordinance set before you today. In verse chapter 12, verse 1. These are the statutes.
Dan,
Yes, sir.
before we start chapter 12, just something out of Leviticus 17 that's in reference to the demons you read about. I mean, the idols you read about.
Leviticus 17.
Leviticus 17:7. Because some of those were actually demons. Some of those false gods were actually demons.
Leviticus 17:7.
17:7. And it's right
Okay.
after.
And this is something that the children of Israel did. In Leviticus 17:7, and they shall no more offer their sacrifices unto devils, after whom they have gone a-whoring. This shall be a statute forever among them throughout their generations. You know, that's the thing about it. What are you bowing down to? Who are you allowing to displace Yahweh? Or to replace Yahweh? What are you bowing down
This
to?
is what they've done in the Exodus. They're being warned about.
Yeah. And you know, it's all these warnings about what can happen and how easy it is to happen. Chapter 12, verse 1. These are the statutes and ordinances which you shall observe to do in the land which Yahweh, the Elohim of your fathers, has given you to possess it all the days that you live on the earth. You shall utterly destroy all the places in which the nations that you shall dispossess serve their gods, on the high mountains and on the hills and under every green tree. You shall break down their altars and dash their pillars in pieces and burn the Asherah poles with fire. You shall cut down the engraved images of their gods. You shall destroy their name out of that place. You shall not do so to Yahweh your Elohim, but to the place which Yahweh your Elohim shall choose out of all your tribes to put his name there. You shall seek his habitation, and there you shall come. That's where the tabernacle was. It started off being in Gilgal, then it moved to Shiloh, and then there was a couple other places where it actually wound up being moved to Jerusalem, and then Solomon built a permanent temple. There, verse 6, you shall bring your what? Burnt offerings, which we don't do anymore. Your sacrifices, which we don't do anymore. Your tithes. Well, evidently we don't do that too well either. The wave offering of your hand, your vows, your free will offerings, and the firstborn of your herd and of your flock. That reminded me of something I was going to say earlier. What is the first thing you do on the first day of the Feast of Tabernacles? It's a coat. What is what everybody is supposed to do? Bring the boughs of goodly trees, right?
Yeah.
Are y'all going to remember to do it this year?
You know, to be perfectly honest, Dennis, that is one of the hardest things to do when you go to the plants and nurseries and stuff, looking for boughs of goodly trees. Where do you find it?
Well, you got a crepe myrtle?
Is it any? I'm sorry.
You got a crepe myrtle?
Crepe myrtle?
Crepe myrtle.
Yeah.
That's one.
It's a plant. It's a tree.
But you could, well, if it wasn't the fact that we're a month behind everybody else, you could go to any place that caters to Judaism. They have a bundle that has this boughs of goodly trees along with this fruit that's almost inedible. I mean, basically, there's myrtle or crepe myrtles, there's willows, there is any number of trees. We're talking about boughs, all we're talking about, not very long piece that's got leaves on it. Fruit trees, even, that you can wave before Yahweh as a blessing. Okay, let me go on from here. In verse 7 of chapter 12, therefore you shall eat before Yahweh Elohim, and you shall rejoice in all that you put your hand to, you and your households, in which Yahweh your Elohim has blessed you. You shall not do all these things that we do here today, every man whatever is right in his own eyes, for you haven't yet come to the rest and to the inheritance which Yahweh your Elohim gives you. For when you go over the Jordan and dwell in the land which Yahweh your Elohim causes you to inherit, and he gives you rest from all your enemies around you, so that you dwell in safety. Then it shall happen that to the place which Yahweh your Elohim shall choose to cause his name to dwell there, you shall bring all that I command you, your burnt offerings, your sacrifices, your tithes, the wave offering of your hand, and all your choice vows which you have vowed to Yahweh. Well, I'll warn you one thing. You don't need to be making any vows, because it is impossible for you to complete them. Because the last thing that needs to be done is to have a Levite do a sacrifice for you. So don't get involved in vows. Yes, Curtis?
That's both going in and out.
What? I'm sorry.
You need the Levite
Yeah, you need a Levite
on both ends.
to start it and a Levite to stop it.
So you can't. When you hear people say, "I've done this," I know you haven't.
Yeah, and some people think that makes them more religious, but saying I'm in a vow and I'm doing a vow. Well, I'm sorry, but you're doing it for no purpose at all, because you cannot start it without the Levite and you cannot finish it without the Levite. That's in the law. Verse 12, you shall rejoice before Yahweh your Elohim, you and your sons, your daughters, your male servants, your female servants, and the Levite who is within your gates, because he has no portion nor inheritance with you. Be careful that you don't offer your burnt offerings in every place that you see, but in the place which Yahweh chooses in one of your tribes, there you shall offer your burnt offerings, and there you shall do all that I command you. Notwithstanding, you may kill and eat meat within your gates. This is another argument I had with an individual that was calling me on the phone and talking for hours, trying to convince me that nowhere in there are you to eat meat. And right here it says, verse 15, notwithstanding, you may kill and eat meat within all your gates. That means that you can slaughter other animals, not those that were intended for sacrificing. But if you wanted to have a steak, you could have a steak, or you'd have to have a barbecue, because one of the things, they didn't have refrigeration, so you were going to have to do something with the rest of that meat. You're either going to have to smoke it, make jerky, or have a big enough party that everybody else was invited to come.
You have a fried chicken.
Well, that's right. You can have your fried chicken without that you'll be able to consume it all, or your small lamb or whatever. But I mean, just the point here says, notwithstanding, you may kill and eat meat within all your gates after all the desire of your soul, according to Yahweh your Elohim's blessings which He has given you. The unclean and the clean may eat of it. This is talking about the individuals, the people, because this is not a sacrifice to Yahweh. As of the gazelle and as of the deer. So it gives you two examples of what you could eat. Only you shall not eat the blood. You shall pour it out on the earth like water. So, it doesn't say that you pack it in salt until there's no moisture left in the meat, like kosher or kashering does. You basically slaughter the animal, you let it bleed out naturally, and there is going to be a small remnant of blood in the cells, in the meat, in the, whatever. That's not what he's talking about. He's talking about keeping that blood that pours out, just gushes out of that animal, and using it for other things, because it's not going to be used for Yahweh. So naturally, if they're going to do that, they're going to offer it as an offering to another god that requires it. Okay, let's see. You shall pour it out on the earth like water. Verse 17. You may not eat within your gates the tithe of your grain or of your new wine. That's that second tithe or of your oil, or the firstborn of your herd or your flock. Those were separate sacrifices. Nor any of your vows which you may vow, nor your freewill offering, nor the wave offering of your hand. But you shall eat them before Yahweh, basically at the feast days, your Elohim, in the place which Yahweh your Elohim shall choose your son, daughter, your male servant, your female servant, and the Levite who is within your gates. You shall rejoice before Yahweh your Elohim in all that you put your hand to. Be careful that you don't forsake the Levite as long as you live in your land. He didn't have an inheritance, so he doesn't have a second tithe to go to the feast. And a lot of people don't have the second tithe to go to the feast because they had to buy that new car. They had to do this. They had to do that. They had to do something. So you're supposed to plan from year to year, and you're supposed to be prepared. Verse 20 of chapter 12. When Yahweh your Elohim enlarges your border, as he has promised you, and you say, I want to eat meat, because your soul desires to eat meat, you may eat meat after all the desire of your soul. If the place which Yahweh your Elohim shall choose to put his name there is too far from you, it's a long travel, which later it did become from the ones in the north when they had to go down not just to Shiloh, which was about halfway between the north part in Jerusalem, but all the way down to Jerusalem. It says here, if the place which Yahweh your Elohim shall choose to put his name there is too far from you, then you shall kill of your herd and of your flock which Yahweh has given you, as I have commanded you. You may eat within your gates after all the desire of your soul. Even as a gazelle and as a deer is eaten, so you shall eat it. The unclean and the clean may eat alike. Only be sure. So I got a question. Normally the gazelle and the deer are not part of sacrifices to Yahweh. So this is talking really about something a little different. The clean and unclean may eat alike. Verse 23 of chapter 12. Only be sure that you don't eat the blood, for the blood is life. You shall not eat the life with the meat. Life. Okay, what's life? In humanity, when does life begin? There are people that says, well, it's got to be when he takes the first breath, the baby does. No, it says the life here is in the blood. So from the time that embryo either produces or, well, actually it starts with blood because mama, it's attached to mama's by the umbilical cord to mama's, and it feeds off of mama. So, you think about it. Life is in the blood. That means long before that baby is actually brought into the world, it is considered a life by Yahweh. Deuteronomy 12:24, you shall not eat it. Now he's talking about the blood. You shall pour it out on the earth like water. You shall not eat it, that it may go well with you, and that your children after you, when you shall do that which is right in Yahweh's eyes. Only your holy things which you have in your vows you shall take and go to the place which Yahweh shall choose, what you've set aside for the feast, or the feast days. You shall bring your burnt offerings, the meat and the blood on Yahweh your Elohim's altar, and the blood of your sacrifice shall be poured out on Yahweh's your Elohim's altar, and you shall eat meat. Actually, the blood is poured out at the base of it, not up on the altar itself. Verse 28, observe and hear all these words which I have commanded you, that it may go well with you and with your children after you forever, when you do that which is good and right in Yahweh your Elohim's eyes. Then he warns them, when Yahweh your Elohim cuts off the nations from before you, where you go in to dispossess them, and you dispossess them and dwell in their land, be careful that you are not ensnared to follow them after that they are destroyed from before you, and that you do not inquire after their gods, saying, how do these nations serve their gods? I will do likewise. Like what happened over on the other side of the river with Balak and Balaam. What they taught, Balaam, I'm trying to get it straight, taught Balak was send your women over and let them prostitute themselves to the Israelites and drag them in. Because, well, they get all googly eye over this female, and whatever she says, they will do if they get what they want. And that's really what it came down to. And it worked. For all these people, after what Yahweh had said, what they did worked. And that's what he's telling them. You're not only going to meet the ones like you did over the other side of the Jordan, you're going to meet the same people inside of Canaan, inside of Israel. And you've got to be careful. You shall not, verse 31 of chapter 12, you shall not do so to Yahweh your Elohim. I mean, you don't do what they practice and then practice it saying, well, I'm doing this for Yahweh. Well, there's too many that want to do that. That was Israel's downfall. They started doing things that was not of Yahweh, saying it was Yahweh. Same way as with that idol at Mount Sinai. They called it Yahweh. Just because you put a name on something doesn't mean that that's what it is. You shall not do so to Yahweh your Elohim, for every abomination of Yahweh which he hates, they have done to their Elohim, their gods, for they even burn their sons and daughters in the fire to their gods. Oh, that's very easy. No, what should have been done? The parents should have been tossed in. The baby kept alive. No, but they get this idea that, oh, this young, precious, innocent life, if we throw it in the fire, we will get more blessings from the gods. No, you just murdered your child, your progeny, your future, thinking you're doing good. It never happened. Does the Aztec Empire still alive today? No. After all the thousands and hundreds of thousands of hearts they ripped out of people's bodies while they were alive, accomplished nothing. That's what he's basically saying. Don't do what they do and say you're doing it for me. Verse 32, whatever thing I command you, that you shall observe and do. You shall not add to it, nor take away from it. That's it. Well, I didn't get as far as I thought I would get today.
That's good.
Well, it always works out that way. Let's see here. The Feast of Trumpets will be here in Dallas on the 6th of October at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, one service. That's it, but at 2 p.m. I will be back in 3 weeks on October the 9th at 3 p.m. on a Sabbath. Day of Atonement, October 15th, Dallas, 2 p.m. You're invited, all those that are watching this. There's very few, because I was watching earlier, there's only about 6 or 7 watching, and I'm one of them. On the Sabbath, when it shows on there how many people are watching, I'm 2 of them, because I got a laptop feeding the TV so Mama can see it and we can hear it. And then I've got my cell phone where I'm typing in the scriptures whenever I get them or hear them correctly. And then the other one to tell you, the Feast of Tabernacles, October the 20th through the 27th, Group Camp number 1, Lake Murray State Park, Ardmore, Oklahoma. You know, that's one thing, that it's a fun time to be together. It's a time to meet other people. Also, it gives you a chance to talk to people about maybe problems that you've run into. Get face to face with the elders that will be there. In the evenings, on the list, when that gets published, will be what they call a fireside Bible study. It's not exactly a Bible study in the normal section, but at the same time, those that come to it, bring some questions, something that you've been wanting an answer to, so we can sit there and talk about it. We get an idea of what's bothering people out there, and what they need to have to work through. It gives you a chance to talk to others and use them as a sounding board of what you've been dealing with. It's an enjoyable time. If you can't afford motel, we have cabins that have beds. You just need to bring your own linens and bath towels. We have a bathhouse. I always have a problem. What do you actually call it? It's a facility. One end is men, on one other end is women, and it has the normal bathroom commode. Also has showers and hot and cold running water at that point. But in the cabins, they have electricity. You cannot use electric heaters in them. It does get cold, so you need to bring your sleeping bag and to take care of it. But it doesn't cost you anything. Just show up. And also, we we serve 3 meals a day. So, you know, it's the idea. And if you want to add something to it, talk to the ones that are doing the kitchen, and you can add to whatever there is, or something they were planning on cooking. You can help purchase it, or you can give a financial donation to the food fund to cover the cost of the meals. And they're all good. I won't say kosher. They're all according to law. Okay? So we don't serve any unclean meats. And we try to do everything else as best we can to follow the laws, also basically to be a healthy meal and to, whatever else. So, live streaming will resume next Sabbath at 1 p.m. Hallelujah, praise Yahweh. Hallelujah, Yeshua. Praise Yeshua, Yah's salvation.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.